Lydia? 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 Um, I just pressed stop and it started. Lydia? Lydia? It's recording now. Lydia? 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 No. Lydia? Oh my god. No, that was so good though. That was so good. We did so well. Hi, welcome to the Hamsteak Podcast.
Wait, I'm not
the
recording.
podcast where
Wait,
we
now
talk
I'm
about-
recording. Okay. Ready?
Hi, welcome to the Hamsteak Podcast, the podcast where we read Homestuck and talk to you about it. I forgot to record my part of the recording, and we did really, really well, so we're going to do this again really fast, and I'm going to cry.
No, it's okay. So I'm Lydia. I have read Homestuck before. Alex has not. And, we had technical difficulties, but we also went 2 weeks without recording. So we're going to give you a speed run episode. We're going to try and clock it in under 10 minutes. Let's see if we can do it. So we pick up with Grumpy Jade, who has just woken up from her horror terror nap, to the delightful Karkat, who doesn't understand why she's contacting him at future his request, so he does the natural thing, which is to summon future him and bring the three of them into a chat room where the two Karkats proceed to just argue and insult each other, and one of them is a weird sycophant, and one of them is weirdly an asshole to Jade, who doesn't understand what's going on with either of them, and ultimately bails on the conversation.
Thank you.
The end of that part.
Jade, in a bad mood, sees that John has begun doing stuff to her house as her server player. She goes up to the house, and he is dropping stuff out her window, including her plants, which rain down on her. She comes in and says hi to him, and they have a nice chat. There's a machine in her foyer, and...
Or foyer, depending on who you ask.
He drops a globe on her Cruxtruder to open it.
Mm-hmm.
The globe almost falls on Jade, but Beck transports it to outer space. Beck also goes outside and sees that the meteor is very close. John renames the bunny Liv Tyler, after the actor who plays Arwen in Lord of the Rings.
Also, she's in Armageddon, apparently, which is like a favorite movie of his.
Yes.
It's just the actual reason he does that.
Meanwhile, Jack Noir is flying towards John's planet, where Bro Strider is ready to have a sword fight with him.
It's true. Oh, yeah. They have a touching moment about not looking at Jade's taxidermy dream self. John informs Jade, which she didn't know yet, that he actually watched her die. It's very sad. Sword fight taking place. It's very tense. Cal is there. Bro is there. They are going to sword fight.
John explains to Jade that Dave is a time traveler and that Rose is going around taking the game apart to find out how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Sprite shows up at the fight and tries to ambush Jack, but Jack sees and is very strong.
He is very strong.
John moves the worm that was blocking the transportalizer on Jade's first floor and plops it in the middle of all the taxidermies and nearly prototypes it or Grandpa, but nothing gets prototyped yet.
Mm-hmm.
The worm
incidentally is named Typheus Minion.
Yes, after John's browser.
Right.
John also offhandedly mentions that Jade, that the Grandpa is our grandfatherly paradox dad, which Jade doesn't understand because she's been out of the loop.
Yep, but she gets no explanation because we gotta go watch a sword fight where the three Striders, including the puppet Strider, are getting bested by Jack because he's got those red lightning powers with which he sets the entire oil water system of the Land of Wind and Shade, John's planet, on fire.
That he does. Rose sees this in a crystal ball that she's using to read her book in a library on her planet. John contacts her and asks if he should just leave the kernel alone and not prototype it. Rose says that's a very bad idea because it will make the battleground unable to complete its healing.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, well, I thought we couldn't do that anyway. And Rose says we still need to have it work so that we can get this treasure, and you need to get that treasure when you're asleep because you're on the battlefield. And the treasure is called the Tumor. And John says that's a terrible name for a treasure.
It's true. She also talks about how she is remembering more from being in a doomed timeline, and she is now reticent to tell John much of anything about what to do in the future, because while she knows what's going to happen, she doesn't want to create another offshoot timeline like that and doom them all.
Yeah, in her crystal ball, she can see Dave sleeping, and Dave on Durst can see her sleeping, and she is surrounded by this black glow, which is pretty scary.
Mm-hmm.
And John's actually telling her like that her spooky shtick is getting really weird, and she's like, "Yeah, I know, but it's also actually useful and it's fun."
Right, and she can admit that it's spooky, that it's silly, but she's pretty much leaning into it. Meanwhile, the crocodiles have stolen Dave's shades, and he's sort of MIA. And
Jade tries to contact him and is very confused at the response.
Which is roughly, nack, my glasses are talking to me, my glasses are talking to me. It's very funny, you had to be there. John wakes up on his mostly sunken bed in the middle of a sea of oil, with the laptop that he just created sinking in the oil, as well as his Nanosprite medallion. He then tries to contact Jade. She doesn't answer. Throws his PDA away in a rage, so now he's down to a single communication device.
Yep. He tells Rose that when he was asleep, he saw WV on the battlefield, who he doesn't know yet. And then they still have fun joking around. Luckily, they can still be pals, even though she's being spooky.
Mm-hmm.
But then he has to go talk to Karkat.
Which she does.
This is Karkat's second time talking to John, so
Yep.
John's excited about it because he's been excited for the really great trolling that Karkat promised, but he doesn't really have time now. He asks where Jade is, and Karkat doesn't know who Jade is. And now Karkat's gonna scream at John about how John ruined both their universes.
Which they do with a Flash animation instead. So basically, John ruins both of their universes by falling asleep, which the Flash shows us, but we're not sure Karkat knows this yet. John only falls asleep because Vriska is manipulating him into doing so. And he is halfway to prototyping this really benign-looking blue doll into Jade's kernel, but instead he falls asleep, and Becquerel senses that, like, there's danger, and so he prototypes himself instead into the kernel, meaning that now anything in the game which has the King or Queen's, like, staff or ring is going to be prototyped out with those abilities as well as, like, their monsters, their baddies, are all going to have this First Guardian power, which has been hinted at, but is basically made clear in this reading. Beck is the First Guardian of Earth, and so this is really bad because who has the White Queen's ring right now? But Jack Noir. It's bad.
It's very bad. He, in the middle of the sword fight, grows a dog head, and the fire,
superpowers.
and the fire that's been raging red around him turns lime green. And he promptly defeats the Striders.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, yes, we see them later on lying in a pool of, we see Bro lying in a pool of blood, and we see Dave Sprite's medallion and his feathers lying on the ground. He's nowhere to be seen. Meanwhile, on Earth, Jade is trying to enter the medium, so she's trying to bat her pinata with the butt of a rifle. She shoots at it, and Becquerel makes sure that the shot hits the pinata, and she is brought into the medium with her house
And volcano.
and her volcano. It ends on some beautiful piano music. Jade has a beatific smile, and snow is falling, and it's magnificent. Karkat informs... What?
We're not done, though, because we also see the scratch open up in the Trolls universe.
Uh-huh.
And the Earth Jack comes through, destroys their door, and Aradia saves them by transportalizing them all back to the lab. But Jack, the unbeatable final boss Jack, is now in the Trolls game too. And Karkat wakes up on Prospit to see this Jack kill him and then destroy the planet with green lightning.
Mm-hmm. And then he spends some horrifying times out in the outer ring. Out in the furthest ring, and we don't get to see those in the Flash, but we know that they happen. He doesn't want to talk about them. And basically then the only thing that happens is Karkat explains all of this to John, because he didn't get to see the nice Flash animation that we did. And the White Queen of the future Desert Friends in the future in the desert finds a key of a spirograph symbol, like the ones we've seen before, and uses it to turn a control panel that she finds out in the desert. It summons a bunch of pieces from all over the world into something that looks an awful lot like Beck's head, but it has the same suburb symbol as all of the rest of the Exiles stations.
Mm-hmm.
And
it plops down on top of the crumbling frog statue on the top of the temple. And this surprises the other future desert friends. And meanwhile, Karkat is still yelling at John.
Yep.
Who apologizes, and then Karkat says, well, thanks for apologizing.
But fuck you anyway. And takes his leave.
We have a question from Tumblr user Dwellington.
Oh,
what
yeah?
the stuff is going on, every homie?
Oh, I think I talked over it.
No,
Said
you
what
got
the
it.
stuck is going on, every homie.
And that's the show.
And that's the show. Find us on Tumblr and Twitter. We are Hamsteak Podcast. I'm Brickchip on... Don't contact me on Tumblr. I don't use it anymore. Find me on Twitter, where I like to overshare a lot.
Oh, also, there was a trailer for the Homestuck game called Hive Swap. It's supposed to be coming out in early 2017. Check it out. It looks cool.
Yep, we're going to keep an eye out on whether it's spoilery enough that we can or can't play it. Also, check out Paradox Space if you're looking for more stories set in the extended Homestuck universe, because it's very cool. Alex, you didn't give your contact.
I'm Leaf Crunch on Tumblr and Crunchleaf on Twitter.
Yeah. Bye!